Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of the in-depth Python learning series. Today I'll be discussing some more data types as well as some more operations that you can perform in Python. So let's start with dictionaries. Dictionaries are key value pairs in Python. So here's a key name with a value of val. So unlike lists, I can't call dictionaries with regular indexing. So if I put 0 over here, that gives me an error. So instead of this, I'll have to supplement the key name, where here it is key itself. So if I call this, it gives me the value val. So dictionaries can also have multiple data types in them. For example, if I have a key name of k1 and it has a value of list, so 2 3 4, and if I call d, that's the dictionary, and if I call k1, that gives me the list. So if I want to have any elements of the list, I can use regular indexing. For example, if I want to have 3, I can just call 1 and that gives me 3. Also in Python, you can have nested dictionaries. For example, if I have a key name of k1 and as a value I have another dictionary, so let this dictionary have a key name of nested key, and the value for this nested key is another list, so 2 3 4 5 6. So if I call d, that gives me the entire dictionary, and if I call k1 off of it, that gives me the value, which is another dictionary that is nested inside of that dictionary. So if I call nested key to get the value as the list, so I'll get the list. Now if I want to call, for example, 5, I can use regular indexing, which starts from 0 1 2 3. So if I call 3, that gives me 5. So that's all about dictionaries, and let's quickly move on to another data type known as booleans. So booleans are basically true or false. So I'll cover this later in this video in the comparison operators section. So let's leave this for now and let's move on to tuples. Tuples are very much similar to list, except that they have rounded brackets to enclose the elements of the list. So 2 3 4, that's a tuple. And if I want to call any elements of this tuple, I can use regular indexing. So if I want to call 2, I can put over here 0 and that gives me 2. So another main difference between list and tuple is that you can't change the value of the elements of a tuple. So for example, if I want to put 5 over here, if I want to change 2 to 5, then it will throw me out an error. So in case you don't want the user to change the items inside of a list, you can opt for tuples. So now let's move on to sets. Sets are similar to lists, but they start off with curly braces. So if I have the elements such as 2 3 4 and another 2 and another 3, so the difference between lists and sets is that sets only contain the unique values inside of the curly braces. So that's 2 3 4 over here. I can also convert a list into a set by calling the set function on the list. So for example, if I pass in the list 1 1 2 5 2, so that will result into a set of only the unique values. I can also add elements to the set, so I have that previous set as. Then if I want to add, I can just call the add function and then add a value over there. So that adds the value 5. So that's all about lists, and let's move on to comparison operators. Comparison operators are greater than, less than, equals to, which is 2 equals to sign, and not equals to, which is an exclamation mark and an equals to sign, smaller than or equal to, or greater than or equals to, and so on. So let me give a few examples. If I call 1 is greater than 3, so this is incorrect. So Python throws out a boolean which is false. So if I call 1 is smaller than 3, then that outputs as true. If I call 2 equals to 2, which is true. So if I call 2 is not equals to 2, that gives me a false. And then we can also use strings for comparison purposes. So for example, high is equals to high, that gives true. And if I use high is not equals to by, that also outputs true. So these are the comparison operators in Python. And let's talk about logical operators. So logical operators allow you to use two of these conditions. For example, 2 is not equals to 2 is a condition. So you can use multiple conditions using logical operators. Let's start off with the logical operator AND. So if I provide 1 is smaller than 2 and 2 is smaller than 3. So AND basically checks if both the conditions are true, then only it outputs a result as true. If one of the condition is false, which 2 is greater than 3, that's false, it outputs false. So in plain English, it's basically asking if is 1 smaller than 2 and 2 greater than 3, so that's false and the result is false. So there's another logical operator, that's the OR. So if I put 1 smaller than 2 or 2 is smaller than 3, that gives true. So here what is actually happening is if one of the conditions in the stated two conditions over here is true, then the output will be true, unlike AND where both the conditions have to be true. So if I call this, that's true, and if I put greater than 2 is greater than 3 over here, it still outputs true. So if I put 1 is greater than 2, then it outputs as false, as both of the conditions are false. Now let's move on to code blocks. And let's start off with if, else, and elif. So you can write a if statement in Python using the syntax if, and then provide a conditions. For example, 2 is less than 3, and then put colon sign over there, and then on a new line with white spaces behind the print statement, I can write a if statement. So if 2 is smaller than 3, then print out hello. So that prints out hello. But if 2 is greater than 3, then print hello won't work. So what actually is happening over here, as 2 is 2 greater than 3, output false. So calling this will not run the code blocks over here. So if I put true over here, because 2 is smaller than 3, then it will run the code block. So instead of this, I can also do other operations inside of the code block of if. So if I put x equals to 2 and then call x, so that's true. Now let's go to if and else. So if 2 is smaller than 3, then print it is small, or else print it is larger. So you can see that if and else both are on the same indent, so keep that in mind. Now let's run this. So it will print out it is small, but if I change this to greater than 3, then it will print out it is larger. So if this condition over here, 2 is greater than 3, is true, then run this, or else run this. So that's basically the else statement. Now let's talk about if and elif. So if 2 is smaller than 3, print yeah. So and then if I put elif over here, and elif 2 is greater than 3, then print nay. So if I call this, the output will actually be yeah, which is, as 2 is smaller than 3, this is true, it will print yeah. And elif actually means else if. So else elif is short for elif. So here 2 is greater than 3 is false, so it won't print out nay. But if I put 2 is smaller than 3 over here and put 2 greater than 3 over here, then the output will be nay. So you get the uses of elif over there. So I can use if, elif and else together. So if 2 is greater than 3, print yeah. Everybody go yeah. So if I put elif 2 is equals to 3, print nay. And if I put else, print oh no, which actually has to be inside quotation marks. So if I call that, it gives me oh no. I think you guys get the idea between this if, elif and else statements. So if you have any problems related to this video and you guys want to some further explanation, just write it out in the comment sections and I'll go through them and reply to them. So yeah, this much for today, and I'll be coming back with another video soon. So subscribe if you want to follow with this learning series. So yeah, tada.